Hello and welcome to the Now Spinning Magazine podcast with me, Phil Aston. And on this episode, I'm delighted to welcome with me Francis Rossi from Status Quo. Now, welcome first, Francis.
Hello there. I've heard about him. He's a dickhead. Don't worry about it. Just move on.
Well, 2024 is looking like it's going to be a very busy year for you and Quo. You've got a UK European tour coming up. You've got your tunes and solo chat tour as well, end of the year. And also you've got various archive releases and you've got the early years box sets come out. You've even got whiskey for sale, haven't you, I believe?
I believe it's still out. I get confused, really. I just sort of get up with whatever I'm doing currently. And then, as you just pointed out, I heard that we've got various albums now. I've got the Rossi Ricard album, which I'm very much, shouldn't say I'm proud of, but I don't like that expression when people say I'm proud of this or proud of what I've done. But I'm very pleased with that album. But there's a lot of stuff that's going on. And you just think, oh. And if I took the view I had perhaps when I was a younger person, which was some time ago, and that you said, but the idea when people say you've got various bits of product out, I think surely not. But they're still doing bits of Elvis, so
yeah,
you got years to go before they stop doing the Quo stuff.
Absolutely.
But yes, it's very, very busy in that respect. We don't see it as a tour. It's not connected like normal tours. And we do so many places, and it's a summer thing. They're sort of festival-y things. It isn't like us doing a regular tour.
Yeah.
But I've been trying to prep for it for some time and try and get more and more fit than usual, or fitter than we were last time we went out. Last time we went out was after the lockdown, and we'd had 2 years off, and I've never had that long off in my life, nor has the band. And so I kind of really relaxed into that. But the problem with that is trying to come back. And I felt when we went out in 2022, it probably got better in the latter half, sorry. But at the beginning, I don't think we were up to where we should have been. So I've been working frantically this time to get back to shape physically and musically. And we go to rehearsals on Saturday. And then it's 2 weeks straight rehearsals, and then we start.
And out you go. Ooh.
Yeah.
So We Talk Too Much comes out on vinyl for the first time. Gosh, how things have changed when you see that phrase, out on vinyl for the first time, instead of it out on
CD. heralding the whole thing like it's really special. To some people, that's special, and I suppose, again, when it was said to me that it was happening, that I have an extra track, so you kind of think it's exploitative and so on, but it's an angle, and that's the way it is these days. It's not like it was when we were younger. I've seen your hair. It's not like when we were younger that was norm, whereas now the things that they do, where various records are out on sale of ours, or where they do a vinyl version, I've seen so many responses that people are so sort of, wow, yeah, I've got to get a copy. And that's really nice. But it's not... I'm a big fan of Jeff Lynne's, everybody seems to know. I don't get every new thing they stick out of. Aren't you having said that? I might end up sometimes in a garage in Scandinavia when we're on the bus on a day off or something. We wander in to get a hot dog. They can get great hot dogs. And I might see an ELO thing and think, oh, there's a couple of tracks I haven't got there. Inevitably, I've got everything. But
Was the title track influenced by Jeff Lynne?
I got asked that on the Tunes tour because it sounds like sun is shining in the No, it was inspired, oddly enough, by Michael Bublé. I think it's Just Haven't Met You Yet. One of those. It's that wonderful Thought of the Bowl, the Changy piano thing. I've got something else that I've done recently like that. Most music that one does and that people do generally are within a sort of parameter and certain style and part of the time. Like when we were very young and we had I Have Nothing and those first singles, everything was Thought of the Bowl. Even Down Tight, and the Satisfaction for the bar snare drum, and then things changed to this which Oasis brought back in the early part of their career. And it seems to go in waves like that. And there seems to be quite a lot of the fourth to the bar thing ish.
Yeah. So
it's
this
just
album,
one of those songs. Sorry,
this album
you're
came
trying
out
to get
originally.
questions in, aren't you? You want to get questions in while I'm talking. Disgraceful. Carry on. Sorry.
The album originally came out in 2019. And in the sleeve notes, it says you refer to it as a collection of music that steers well away from the sound and feel of Quo. Do you still feel that? Do you still feel it steered well away from your?
I think that's one of those singy blurbs. I'm not very good at doing those. I usually get Chris Shirley, our PR man, or someone at the record company to do that, and I have a look at it and think, yeah, that's fine. But it is somewhat away from, but it's difficult because I always maintain that quite a rock, country, pop, blues band, the sequences in those music and all those genres of music are very similar. I've always liked country music, and yet the people who like Quo almost throw up when you say country, or they feel it's a threat to their identity as such. And a lot of people in music do that if they like blues. Oh, they couldn't like this and couldn't. I just like music. It doesn't matter what it is, really. I may think I don't like a particular genre, and then I'll hear something, I love that. It happened to me with the Pet Shop Boys. I never wanted to like them, never really have. But there's so many of their singles, I just think it's a sin. I just think it's one of the best records. I love it to death. So I find that when I say that I don't, it's as far away from far as possible. To me, in some ways, it is, but obviously in other ways, it's
not. That's what I think, because you write predominantly on acoustic guitar, don't you? So when you do that, you're not like if a band jams in the studio with distorted guitars, bass, and drums, they've got stuff floating around. Whereas if you're writing on acoustic guitar, it's all about melody, even for the verses, let alone the chorus.
Yes.
So my feeling is the way you've written your songs is that it's about the arrangements and instrumentation that makes them Quo or not, because Ought to Know by Now, I'm Only Happy, Sinking in Blue, and especially Maybe Tomorrow, they sound to me
that
could
was
easily be Quo-ish.
Okay, one second, mate. I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to nip out of the room, but I'll be back.
Okay.
I'm just out in the hallway here. Wait a moment.
Okay.
It's that when you're sitting there strumming acoustic.
Yeah.
When maybe tomorrow, if it's got, that's very country.
Yeah.
But then if you wanted to quiet up, you'd.
Yeah.
So it's kind of miles apart, but very, very close as well.
Yeah.
And I find that I remember I liked, I heard some people talking just the other day. And I first already gone, the Eagles.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, well, apart from brilliantly played, brilliantly sung, I thought, that's just where we could be doing that. So the bass has got which they call a root and fifth bass. Well, we couldn't do that. It had to be, which is a bit... One could say mindless, if you like. Yeah. And it's very strange that you say that. It's true what you said. It's very observant that all those things, you're writing on acoustic. Also, the fact, on the acoustic, is that it's like the hi-hat of the drum, snare, and the mark of the snare drum.
Yeah.
And it's the bass. So it's all going on there. The tricky thing I used to find at the time, I think I'm Vicenta, and this is great. And it's kind of belting along. You think, this is marvelous. And then you take that into an electric and it just sounds like shite or something, or it didn't fit the parameters. Or I remember Alan particularly had got to a point where it's not manly if it's going dunk, dunk, the bass. So it had to be do, 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 do. And one of those things I see that over the years, people, when they say, what do you like music? They go, rock. Oh, I thought, what's wrong with your voice? Why can't you just say I like rock or I like country? I just like music. But very observant, you spot that. Yeah, I suppose lots of that album is like Quarry. Could be like Quarry.
Yeah, but equally with Well, you might perceive as the classic quo. Wherever you go in your back catalogue, a lot of bands. I think it must have been the early '90s. Everyone wanted to do an unplugged kind of show, didn't they? Everyone, let's do. But it didn't work for a lot of bands because they hadn't written the songs. They'd written the songs as a band collectively. When they stripped it back to be just acoustic, it didn't work as well as probably they thought. Whereas you doing your acoustic one-man show stuff, and when you did the acoustic stuff, the melodies of the
Melody
quo
and the
songs
acoustic guitar
really came
works
through,
very
didn't they?
well. Yes, but you could, I suppose, equally say that the poppiness comes then in quo that frightens some people. The fact that you said when a band, if it co-writes together, I know that you two tend to jam ages in the studio, but
Yeah.
and various bits of tape are put together, and then someone tries to cobble a melody together. It seems to have worked very well for you two. But some of the stuff doesn't. It's just it's just kind of wandering. But I sometimes go, wow, yeah, how'd they get to that? It's like needs must, I suppose. When if I'm writing something, I have to try and find for want of better words, that song. I need a verse, I need a chorus, maybe there's a bridge and a solo sequence. Whereas if you're cobbling, which is another way, I can't say that that's wrong, but it's another way of doing stuff. You've got a whole backtrack. A band have been jamming for 20 minutes or 40 minutes or an hour and a half in one particular key, fair enough.
Yeah.
And then you say, well, that bit works very well there, which is easy, much easier to do when we're on computer because you can sit and say, just put that there, try that. Oh, no, sorry, put that back. Whereas years ago, you had to do it with tape. Jeff Lynne would have had to do it with cutting tape and cutting 2-inch tape.
Yeah.
But and that's why I think some of my generation, so I had lost it since we got computer. Not really. If you can go in with a song, it does allow you to be even more creative than perhaps you could have been. And we do sound like the previous generation. One of the things I didn't like is the compression thing when you hear a record that's kind of being sucked by the bass drum. It sucks away but so I'm guilty of the same thing that other people say. You can't do that with a compressor. And the young kids said, yes, you can, look. And sure enough, you could. And you made records that sounded like that. I happened to not like it. I'm waffling here and drifting, but there we are. Sorry.
No, that's fine. So, but the album itself, because it's really joyous and uplifting and very positive. I mean,
I sat here with that girl and we wrote the songs for the album in this room. And it was a very enjoyous part of my life that I met her. She came to the studio to do some violin for me for something, fiddle something. I don't know what. And I happened to say to her, can you sing? I could see her nose go way out of joint. She, of course I can sing, kind of. I went, oh, I'm thinking, I know what I do. You, right? I thought you could come and do the quo thing. And while we were doing the quo thing, I went upstairs at Hammersmith to the top dressing rooms where the girls were. And she had a chat with them about something we were doing. And she said, she texted me as I got back downstairs, do you write? No, she asked me, she said, do you still write songs? You cheeky sod. And I got to the bottom and downstairs and I, did you mean you'd like to write songs together? I was feeling my way kind of thing. Or I was going to say, no, thanks. And she said, yeah, I would, because we both like country. And then we got together, wrote songs, and then the album came together and it was a really great time. I loved singing with that girl. I love her voice. But she went and fell in love, got married, and had children. And she's a very happy girl.
Oh, right. So a follow-up probably might be some way off then.
I tried that. It was a very successful album in as much as what it did. But all those things these days, because of Spotify and whatever else, people don't sell records per se anymore. It's all about streaming, and people try and convince you that, yeah, but it's really great. But without sounding too mercenary, but I mean mercenary here, you just, a quarter of a penny per stream, even if it was £1 a penny per stream, they'd still be kind of ripping. It's still kind of ripping the artist off.
Totally.
And they say, well, you could get billions of, yeah, you could, but not all of us can get billions. And even when you get billions, you really need to overly exploit the act. Anyway, and so it got to her.
You need to buy the real thing. You need the real thing.
I think it's lovely. Yeah, I do like that idea of that.
Yeah.
If I do anything, I do go and try and buy a CD, whatever. But slowly, the system, without sounding too beaten up, kind of, it's trying to ease that out. We don't want them to do that. We want them to. You have to access this button to take. There you are. You can have that for now. You don't own anything. You don't. And there's no. Hence, I think. When kids buy an album, I think Taylor Swift has just put out an album with 30 tracks on it. Whilst there was a point where, to me, it got silly because we were doing 16 and 17 track albums, and you know full well that by the time someone's got 13 tracks in, I don't care who it is, you think, I'm fed up, I'm bored. But she's such a clever woman. Somewhere she sees something, unless it's the fact that with 30 different tracks, she's likely to get more people stream because she got such a following. So all the time, people are trying to find ways of beating that part of the system. So I said to Hannah, she said, "Can we do another album?" And I explained, I said, "Well, even if we're given the money to make it, the idea of you getting any money out of yourself, which of course she wanted to do, she wanted to."
Yeah, of
she
course.
was a teacher and such we all do. It's given me a living all my life. I said, it's just not going to do it. We won't sell enough pieces for it to do. It's unlikely that we get enough streams. I'm kind of old, and you want to have children, and you don't want to leave. All the things were against it, so we kind of gave up the idea. But I still keep thinking, I'd like to do an album with her. And people have said that to me before. In fact, I'm thinking of doing a solo album now. I think I work with this kid that used to go to school with my third son, and with the engineer and the guy that's on tour with me, Andy Brook. They all went to school together, and we started doing some tracks. And I've got very enthusiastic about making tracks again. Spoken to the record company, Max Vaccaro for Edel, who I like and get on with, and he's kind of convinced me that it can be done. And as long as I'm now in a position, as long as I don't lose any money making it, because a lot of people said, but surely you enjoy making music. And I always make the terrible analogy, disgusting analogy that I like, self-pleasuring, shall we call it, but occasionally like to have sex with somebody else. And I use those analogies because people do understand that. I try to say that sometimes being on stage with Quo or on Tunes and Chapters, it's so enjoyable when it's good, that it's as good as sex. And people, really? Well, yeah, it is as good as that and goes on longer and you can do it again and so on. So it's very unlikely that Canna and I will make an album. Having said that, I've did so many things over the years that I wouldn't be doing, i.e. another album. I'm pretty sure I'm not going to do another Quo album. I'm pretty sure Quo won't probably tour again, I don't think. I can't see it. It's becoming prohibitive again to tour cost-wise. And we are old, there's no doubt about it. We are old. I've got Uncle Mick Jagger to look up to, but he's fucking old as well. But we're old. And all of us, so far beyond what we ever thought was going to be old, so far beyond it. And I can't see how we can keep on doing it.
So how do you prepare mentally and physically for a tour when most of your audience, even if they're 15 years younger than you, are probably thinking, oh, can I really go out tonight, or how are my knees doing? And all they've got to do is sit in the audience. So how do you I
learned from the Tunes and Chat that people, I realised, people who come and see me on that one do not want to be hassled at the front, standing there for hours, that they're being jostled at the front. They want to sit down. They have a prostate problem, need to go for a pee now and again, which I make jokes of with people. And how I prepare for it is even more diligently than I ever used to. I had a hernia operation as soon as I finished the Tunes and Chat tour. And I like to talk about these things, these old people's things that I'm getting, and it seems everybody else in my position pretends they don't happen. When it's on your face, you're as wrinkly as a bloody prune. So, and I started getting back to exercising, working out, swimming every day. The diet goes on. I practice every day, every night. I've been rehearsing in this room in front of the TV, the old Quo set, and then we go because you try so hard for there to be no excuses of why it didn't work tonight. Even quite often you find it works for the audience, but we come off going, oh, what was I don't know. I just couldn't. What the professionalism one has, you would never know, really. It's just, but when it's, I don't want there to be a reason that right went wrong was either someone was hungover or you're under rehearsed or you didn't do. So you try and iron out any possible excuse. So that if it went wrong or you weren't happy with it, we don't know what that is.
I do have a question I'd like to ask, and I hope I word this correctly. Because thinking about how, focused you are on not just yourself keeping fit mentally and physically, but the whole of the band and the rehearsals and how you want like everything to be quite so. I'm thinking about the audience as well, and I'm thinking about back to what was called the Frantic Four reunion. And the only place I want to dip into that is that how the audience has grown and changed with you, because obviously when it was in the 70s, the kids were young and you were a bit younger, if you know what I mean. But everybody was just like, they went to work, they wanted to get up, they hadn't probably met the person in their lives yet, and no one had experienced any loss or anything, and it was just life. But now
it was young life, yeah, right.
Young life. Yeah. But now people have got married, got divorced, had kids, lost parents, lost jobs. So you must see in the audience's eyes that when you play certain songs, that they probably they well up, or it takes them back to certain things. When you did that reunion, that obviously almost locked people into the past in a way, and which they must have loved. But you personally, did you enjoy it much, or were you thinking, I'm looking backwards here, and as a creative person, I also want to look forwards? Did that make sense?
Yes, it did. Initially, when we went to rehearsals, it was very nice to be talking to Alan Lancaster again, although it went sour once more when I no longer wanted to do it. We got to rehearsals and I walked out after a point. I just could not believe how untogether it was. And I'm told by other people that, because I just lost it for a moment, and I went out, and I'm told by everybody else that Rick went up to Alan and John and said, look, no, you've really got to. Even Rick was kind of shocked. And we shouldn't have been, really. Rick and I had worked so much together as a band and whatever for so many years. Yeah. And those two guys hadn't worked together or really much with anybody else. But when we got to, it was okay when playing. What happens again in this thing? So if I'm not ready in 2 weeks' time, we're going anyway, which is why one gets ready in the end, because it's going. It's
happening.
And that's what happened with that. And I saw the crew's faces thinking, wow, there's a few real Quo fans in the crew. And we got to the first gig and such. Well, I think we did Hammersmith. I remember being at Hammersmith. It was Hammersmith. And I couldn't believe what the audience thought they were seeing and hearing from their response. And so you kick into being whom you are. And I just went, Alan Lancaster and John Coghlan. And the place went nuts again for another couple of minutes. So I'm thinking, this is good. And then I thought, well, I know, one more then. Nuff and Spud. They went nuts again. And then the shit hit the fan and we had to play. And I was disappointed with it. And I feel guilty at being disappointed. I don't see why I should be, or I should be for being honest. And then we went out the second time and business dropped X%, and that's apparently normal for a reunion affair. And Alan would not accept the fact that it was, and people in Europe lost money on the show and all that. I keep talking money, but this business is money.
Yeah.
And I didn't really want to do it anymore. And I remember Rick saying to me in Manchester, this would end up exactly where it was, wouldn't it? He had these lucid times, when you think, yeah, I said it would. But we were still had to go on that night, and you had to go on the subsequent night and so on. You had to get out and do it. I just didn't enjoy it that much. I'm glad that these people, particularly in Hammersmith, I could see people crying. I could smell the jackets that they hadn't washed since 1978 or whenever it was. And I understand the nostalgic value. But Rick and I have been doing other things for years. And I don't know. I apologise to everybody that finds that what I've just said upsetting, or that I'm a schmuck or whatever it is. But I can't help whom I was then and whom I am now. It's just, sorry.
No, but I fully understand it, because in a way, you do it a couple of years before the reunion. You'd release Quid Pro Quo, which is an absolutely stunning, awesome album. But if you'd closed down Status Quo and gone back to the reunion state, you couldn't have done anything from those albums, could you? Technically,
no. And one's assuming that all the writing would work, and the friction, as Rick pointed out, was slowly coming up. I realised one night where Alan used to wind John up. I don't know if he knew he was doing it or whatever, but every time Spud came in the room, he would draw attention to, well, here he is, and then this doesn't work well with Spud. And so, like Rick said, all those little frictions were coming up. And it was sad to see that, but I think people have to understand it with so many acts, if not all acts. You are young boys when you start, and we were young boys in 1962 when it was myself, Alan, and John Coghlan, and you really get on well. It's you against the world, and then you grow up and you realise whatever it is. It happens to every act. You get older, you get this. It just got so fractious, so fractious. And I know many acts that still, in theory, get along as well they're supposed to, but it's very, very fractious, and people travel on their own and separate. And someone asked me the other day, do you still actually travel together? What? I forgot. Of course, yeah, we don't. We all get on the bus, myself, Andrew Baum, John Edwards, Richie, and Leon. We get on the bus together, and of course we do. And not many bands do. So people have to try and understand this. It's funny they understand divorce, like you said. They're a bit married. They thought they were in love. They got 2 children. They get divorced. Well, we want you to get back together. Most people would just give you the finger, wouldn't they? Yeah. Or whatever it is. I want you to go back to that boss you hated working for. Fuck off. Yeah, no, we really like you working there. We prefer you to work there. Fuck off. No. But that's what they try to not only us, many acts, they try to get you to do it. Sad, but it can't be. Sorry.
Yeah, because you're capturing a moment in time which is looking back, which can't be replicated going forward, because you as a musician and a songwriter had changed. And obviously Rick was around at the time of Quid Pro Quo, and of course more recently beyond that, Heavy Traffic, which is another great album. That you just in a different.
Well, so was Backbone. It was very difficult to make Backbone, because one of the reasons we made Backbone is what had been done to Rick and I, that you two are a fucking bunch of winkers, you can't exist. Then Rick died, and I was the last wanker standing. I thought, thanks very much. And I can't function without Rick. Now, you're doing to me what you did to Rick and I. And those people, I understand. I'm sure if we weren't with in the realms of social media and such, that those people would be quite so brave, because you read these things. And Rich is terrible at bringing that stuff to me. He said, guess what they've said here? But I don't want to sound poor old me. I'm just trying to give you I just get up and do what I'm doing next. Like I said, I'm going to do a solo album. I don't know if people will like it. I don't know if people will buy it. It's not as good as this. It's not as good as that. It's not as good without Rick, Alan, John. Right, fine. But I'm still going to go make it, because I enjoy doing it.
Yeah. Well, it's the 50th anniversary.
Very much enjoying about to put that bow through the back of your head. I'm quite like watching. Every time you duck your head, it's like she's about to put the bow through. Sorry, love.
It's the 50th anniversary of the Quo album this year, and I've noticed on your website you've got great tour T-shirts from the time, 1974. But if I could, I'm not going to ask about that album, but it is a track that's 50 years old, and it's from November that year because it's one of the first singles I ever bought. So this is the personal question. Down, Down. You wrote that on acoustic guitar as well, didn't you?
Wrote that in Los Angeles in the travel lodge, and everybody was out.
Oh, wow.
Everyone used to go out, and I was sat there, and then Bob came back. I was always in the rooms, and people would come back. You'd see them come back, who'd been out the longest and whatever else. And I had the whole thing. And then I said, well, we'll do a lyric when we get home. We were going, I'd written the song. It's a very basic song. Again, in acoustic, because I'd done it in a tuning rather than... That's all it is. Down, down, you see it in the country.
Yeah.
It's just, they're all quite simple songs. They're all very simple songs. But just been lucky that people like them. I got very annoyed. A guy came up to me once. He saw I love that Down, Down thing of yours, you know. I said, all right, thank you. It's very nice. He said, my daughter, she's only 3. She loves it. I thought, bloody cheap. Then I realised if you've got something like that, little ones can get it. As much as when we're these macho young people, you know, 25, 28, whatever we are, you think you're a man then and so on. And someone telling you their 3-year-old likes your music. What? That's not good to me. Well, in fact, it is.
It is. It is, because that shows shows how strong the melody is, doesn't it?
Well, it has a basic, whether it's a tribal thing, instinct, or it's got everything about it. Just there, I could have said, I could have played the rest of that and enjoyed playing it.
But it's such it went to number 1. But it's such a powerful rock song. So
weird, huh?
Yeah, it's such a powerful rock. But a lot of your music, this is what listening to. We talk too much. Is that I started to listen to lots of different things. That all of your music could be rearranged into lots of different styles. And I think one of the things, as a fan of rock music, when I was like 18 to 24, I just liked something in a silo called rock music. But as I've got older, which is why I wonder how the Quo fans have adapted, is I don't now personally what I don't like anymore, because I love, like, you know, the Americana or soul or funk or rock jazz. I've just expanded. Because as I've listened to different things, it's made me go down different rabbit holes and explore different music.
It was possibly always there. It's just that when we're younger, there is this fear that something might expose us should we venture into there, you know, whether I'm wearing the right clothes, the wrong, and music is terrible for doing that. They tribal, and we belong to this thing, and I couldn't like anything. That's why people think I'm such a traitor. But I've always been there. It's funny because when we were young, Alan liked, his favourite singer was Nat King Cole. Nat King Cole. And he liked Del Shannon. We both liked Del Shannon and people like that. He loved a pop song. And one of his favourite songs was The Leader of the Pack. And he wanted to do it on stage at one point. We said, don't be fucking silly. It didn't make sense to us. And Rick was, his mother, he influenced him a lot, his music. And I had this song this morning he was going through that. He wrote a song, I can see 2 shadows flickering in the candlelight, and I know that someone else is in your arms tonight. I mean, that was the first song I ever heard Rick write. And he also liked those, I'm nobody's child, I'm nobody's child. And that was Rick. And again, something happens. Alan went really manly. Later on in life, Rick changed his lovely voice to, so it is. And like, I'm whether I'm lucky or I've missed something, and some people are going to say you've definitely missed something, and other people say, well, no, you're lucky. Like you can, well, we've expanded. I like that. Blimey, I didn't know I liked that. I remember with the Jam, I really didn't like the Jam. I don't know why. And a few years ago, we were doing a show, and Bruce Foxton was on doing whatever it is Jam thing, and I was having a nap in the afternoon. I was they were on, you know, and the bus was parked at the back of the stage. Someone thought, shit. But I thought, blimey, they've got a lot of good tunes. on the face of it, he was that angry man, and but they did some fabulous tunes, and they go, oh, well, again, the young man in me was saying, no, I don't, I'm like that, I can't go there, or something in me goes to competition, I don't like that freaking bloke, or whatever it is. I find him, I love his stuff. I think he's one of the, I have great envy for that. He's developed so well, Paul Weller. Paul Well, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
He's
Yeah,
developed that well. You think, wow, that is some growth. And I'm not sure he's given credit for that. I mean, with his fans, I'm sure he is. But I'm not sure he's given credit for that in the business. That he really has blossomed and turned into a family person.
It's probably like you said earlier about you like the Pet Shop Boys now. It's because of it's the melodies and that's so.
I can't. The
melodies,
best thing is that it's a sin. It's just, and they got slagged for it. I'm thinking, well, good, slag them for I can't stick them, blah blah. Because I think he was a music journalist, and he had that snobby thing about him, and that certain gay. I've got various gay cousins, and I've got a gay son, and certain. There was a period when gay had this. We're gay, and we're better than you, and I'm sure there is a lot of that. Same with straight people who think they're better than gay people. But I heard that song, and every time I hear, I have to stop. I fucking listen to that. Fucking marvelous, fucking brilliant. And there's one or two other songs of theirs, and I got our PA to. I've done this to some people. I just got to send them a message, and I found out and sent them the message about the song. I can't remember what it was called, but I remember thinking, wow, yeah, like that. Yeah. And I had to send them a message saying, I love your status. I know I'm not supposed to like you, and I don't want to like blah, blah. And he said, thank you very much, came back and says, is there any chance you Quo cover? Now, that to me was... They'd grown up in reality theatres. What we quoting us to cover, that'd be nice. That's real, rather than the genres of music and the generations split us that keep us apart. No.
So I love them. And then just as we come to the end of the interview, one of the things I want to mention is you're on YouTube with
you may be at the end. I'm fucking not. Sorry, carry on.
But your Rossi and Young in Conversation YouTube clips.
Yeah.
That's wonderful stuff, because obviously having a career that's as long as yours, from when you were literally mere teenagers, you've got all these stories, which obviously your solo tunes in a chat is all about. Yeah. But one of the ones that, if it's okay to ask you about, is Softer Ride, which is one of my favorite tracks, which I always thought was one of yours. But when I watched your video, I realized it is one of yours. But it was kind of like...
to me, it's kind of obvious. And I find it was frustrating that Rick said to me one day in a gig, he said, yeah, he'd been asleep, and we used to snap in the afternoon. We still nap in the afternoon. And he said, I didn't know I wrote Softer Ride. I said, you didn't. He said, it's got my name on it. I said, doesn't mean you wrote it. And he had no recollection, nor an Alan, in theory. I don't believe Alan. That Colin came to us and said the other two are a bit upset that you and Bob are writing too many songs. What? They're upset that we're writing too many songs. What do you mean, the hit ones or the other ones? The other ones, we don't get used, kind of, very sarcastic eyes. But it's obvious in Softer Ride that ain't no work no more. That line came straight from Bob Young. We were doing a gig with
Atomic Rooster.
I think it might have been Atomic. They didn't turn up, and I was in the dressing room doing. I thought, ding. It's a shuffle. It's a lift. What key is that? Ain't gonna work no more. Yeah, do it like that. Sorry. And then Bobby said, we'll do the lyrics when we get home. We got home early, I would think. So we were in my house. We sat there, and that was the first thing he said. I ain't gonna work. That's so Bob Young, and he used to work for people called Thornycross, and he was always that It's that bluesy, I ain't going to work, I'm going to stay in bed, I'm satisfied, let my head take us off. That's bothering me. And say, turn my back on the cold outside, in my chair, roll at the rooftops in my chair. What the fuck are they talking about? Riding on a big, what? So that was, to me, it was so obvious that it wasn't Alan. And I've got, if they'd have said, yeah, we know you wrote it, but Alan to his death. No, you didn't. And that's upsetting to me, Bob, sorry.
Was that quite usual back then? A lot of bands would initially started out just sharing their writing credits across the whole band, didn't they?
Yeah, that's why I don't believe in that. I don't believe in that thing. I believe U2 is supposed to do it, and various other acts do it.
Yeah.
And I believe Johnny Rotten, what's his name? John Lydon.
Yeah.
He got shafted by his old mates, and it was very strange to hear John Lydon, who seems such an aggressive, macho, tough person, say, but they were my friends. I could see this little boy saying, I thought you were my friends. And they shafted the fucking bloke. And that's what I said to everyone earlier, that perhaps we're not being grown up enough, but we're being much manly enough that I thought you were my friend. I always thought you were my friend. We drifted apart over the years and it got so, but you were my friend. Why I used to do anything for it. We'd do anything together. We were great to be together. Whoever gets in the midst of them, it's not just myself and Rick, and various other relationships.
Yeah.
I believe it's the various women that we get with, and managers and so on. If Rick and I were that close and difficult to break, but you need to get between that to get Status Quo to do things that perhaps will get me to do things, or him to do things that perhaps they didn't want to, and that seems to happen. It was almost a joy hearing John Lydon say that, but shame to hear he got shafted so badly.
The other thing just made me think when you talk about Ricky's, both of the band, you were both Telecaster players. Whereas
no, we weren't.
Weren't you?
No. Rick always played a Gibson. That's what's that. I was doing. We were doing a remake of Caroline for something.
Yeah.
I don't get what. Something's not right with it. And then I was looking through various things. I realised, no, hang on a minute. Rick always played Gibsons. He played first he had a 335, which I did. Actually, remember the 335. We both played Gibsons. And then he had Les Paul Jr. and he had various Les Pauls and Black Gibsons. So he had a humbucking pickup, which is the point. So when you listen to Caroline, we did it in the studio, and I got Richie to use one of the humbucking things I've got in the studio, play it, track it, and then suddenly you hear, as soon as you hear the Telecaster against that thing, the harmonics. There it is. That's where it is. And I listened to it yesterday to show Richie something. And you can hear there's something sweet in the harmonics of the blend of a double track humbucker and then the single coil
of the Telecaster.
And there it is. And so lots of the, you see the pictures of Rick's. It wasn't till whenever it was, probably rocking all over the world.
Then he went to Telecaster, was it?
And to his credit, he went to the Image thing. And the idea we both played tellies.
Oh, right.
No, we didn't. In fact, we both started out on Gibsons, but I ended up on a Telecaster accidentally, and so did he.
So when you retired your classic green one, because it just basically came to the end of its life. Yeah. Was that? Did you find it hard to adapt to a new instrument?
No, I got this guy at Status to build me a guitar, and I didn't like it. And we had some issue. And he bought me another one to rehearsals, and I got annoyed with him. I said, I don't want another fucking green guitar. I'm greened off with guitars. I happen to have one. And I've just realised the one I use for Down Down is a very nice one. I've even tried with going out on this tour now. That's that one you just showed me, yeah.
Yeah.
And I was talking to Mr. May about it, Andy May, the front house. I just put it on the rehearsal. Oh, I like that. And I started to play it from that from that rehearsal through that tour for a while. And then as recently, I've had trouble with the thing, the sound, and I do miss the Telecaster, the old one, so much. I've managed to get pickups that are the same onto that one, blah, and stuff that you do. But I've always had this thing that Oh, I love the sound of that guitar. Do you like the song? No. Well, you're not going to buy the fucking record, are you? And you're not going to say, oh, I've got to buy that record. It's got a lovely sounding Telecaster on it. There might be one or two chaps out there that do that, but generally, you know, it's like, do you like the band? Or do you see Status Quo? No, I don't like them. Yeah, well, they were great. Do I like them? I don't care how great they were that night. And so that I do miss that telly a little. And I liked initially the broader neck of the Status and the carbon fiber and its reliability and the range I can get. It's nearly a tilted neck. But on the tunes and chat tour, the tunes tour is probably be less chat next time. It's a Telecaster. It's a mold on a Telecaster, the shape, the sound. And wow, that is beautiful to play. It has intonation troubles, which we'll work on because the bridges keep wearing away because they're not even carbon fiber. There's some sort of mold, and but it's such a beautiful guitar. But so is this one. I find this one. It's quite a lovely. The next, I can get round it, whereas. And you just suddenly get a guitar. Oh, I like that. I've got to stop doing that because I've got to go and play that Status. I'm going to play that Status. That is sounding particularly good at the moment. But again, I've got a new amp. I'm using a Kemper now, and I've sampled it, or they call it profile, a certain amplifier that I'm going to go out. And I'm very pleased with the noise. But there will still be a point that I will find a gig that wasn't up to much. But I thought you had a blinding sound, and yeah, I do, but still isn't up to much. So that can happen.
Have you changed, like, the things like your gauge of your strings you use now compared to what you were using in the 70s or 80s?
I used to use 10s. I went to 11s, and I also have a 20 plain G because we're having such intonation problems. Yeah, I know.
Wow, so that'd be quite tricky to bend in the notes, wouldn't it? In some,
yeah, I'm tough. I'm saying tough.
Yeah, of course.
But I don't know. I might drop the bridge a tad. But all that stuff, they put and bend that up in the truss rod neck, doesn't it? But I've had it this way for about a year or so now.
Yeah.
And I've played it for about a year or 2 years now. And I'm going to go out and see what happens. I might lower the bridge on the high end just a tad to make that G a bit more bendable. Yeah. But once you're up to fitness and then that left hand's going, then I don't feel that problem. It's a lovely. But I heard something, this is my record. I thought that's lighter strings, and that's how lighter strings sound. But again, got lighter strings, perfectly in tune, great sound. Where was the gig? Shit. Doesn't mean you won't have a shit gig for whatever reasons. And I'm always looking, like everybody, I suppose, looking for that sweet spot and to be fabulous all the time. And the thing with having it fabulous all the time is that becomes normal and it's no longer fabulous. So he's very hard to please in some ways.
So obviously you've got your very, very good diet to get fit. You've got your fitness regime, all the things you do physically.
I've got to do a load when we're done. I start about 4 o'clock, I think.
Okay. And you also, so to keep fit creatively, do you kind of try and write every day or practice the guitar every day?
No, I practice every day. It's only 3 days in the year I don't practice. That's Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, and Boxing Day. The rest of the time I practice. But I step it up when we're coming to work. But recently, I've started writing. As I said, with this kid, Coghlan and Alan Lancaster. When he went to school with my son, they used to call him Brown Boy, and he used to go through the racist things. And so we were laughing a few weeks ago. They call him Brown Boy, And we said we called BB. It's like for BB King, Brown Boy King or something. So we started laughing. And so we can't use BB England, Elegantithica, his name is.
Yeah.
So we should have Ranganathan. So we call him BB Ranganathan at the moment. Yes. And but I've enjoyed playing with him and writing with him. And it's kind of weird because he's about 45, I suppose. I thought, well, if you take it back to a point, I'd have been writing with a 12-year-old. I just can't do that. And we laugh. But it's the thing that inspired me, I think, as I said, to make another album. I've written 3 other songs that I've done with Bob. We've done the lyrics recently. And I'm now looking for the time to do it. And it won't because we're focused on the Quo thing now, we'll only come home the odd couple of days and there won't be time to work. And I need to speak to Adele and get a budget and blah, 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 blah. But it was after doing 2 or 3 tracks, I thought, shit, I like this. Damn, wish I didn't like it that much. It does something. I love doing jigsaw puzzles. I can get really lost in the jigsaw puzzles or crosswords. You must do crosswords, right? When you're doing your crosswords, fuck everything, right? This is marvelous. And then, back to reality, have I? And I think that happens when I'm in the studio. It's just so good to. And Andrew Brooke is so good to work with. He's so good to work with in the tunes and chat. He sings and plays with me and stuff that we think really. So when I get asked from the tune stat sometimes, do you wish you'd got to this sooner? And I thought, well, it wouldn't be possible. Because Andrew would have been at school, he wouldn't have been right, I wouldn't have been right, I wouldn't have been in the right frame of mind and so on. And so I'm a believer that we get to where we're supposed to be, even though I get frustrated with it sometimes. So I'm very much looking forward to going to Scandinavia as soon as we finish the Quo thing.
Yeah.
And you can't help but move on to the next thing. Perhaps that's what keeps us going, so-called keeps us young. I don't know if you've seen my face, but I was thinking about the gooseneck and all that, and a turkey neck, isn't it? But something about it. I came out of the studio a few weeks ago when we were doing something. I was just so. And there's a sense of like when you're gigging as well. People ask me, "What's the best thing about gigging?" And I say, "Finishing." And they think, "Oh, that's a terrible thing." I say, "No, it isn't. I got through it. I did it again. I usually would have enjoyed it. And if I haven't enjoyed it, I've still achieved the fact of going through it. Done that one. Great. Oh, there might have been a moment up there. It was good and so on. But then I get to look forward to tomorrow."
But music, because it's such a unique art form, does keep you young. The sense of wonder that you have when you're younger, just it's like it's in you. When people hear it, whether it's a song that they've known for a long time or it's a brand new piece of music, it just lifts you. I personally feel there's almost like a healing aspect to music and how it affects.
There's something I remembered yesterday. It was an Ovaltine ad. She'll pick you up with Ovaltine. I could listen to that for hours. It just gone. And Ivan Skavinsky Skavar, what was that? The whitbread ad. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
There's something magical. Now, in theory, if you're a serious musician, you don't like shit like that, do you? Well, I'm obviously not a serious musician. I just like shit like that too, as well as I may like Muse. And some people think that's shit. Please yourself, really. I don't really care what. You've got the same thing. Obviously, when you're listening to music, I don't give a shit what you think. You can't get me when I'm here.
Yeah,
and I'm quite happy doing that.
Yeah.
Very lucky.
So finally, how do you pick the set list for your tour for Quo when you've got such a back catalogue?
That's a contentious issue. Most people get annoyed that we don't or I don't change it. But when we were younger, that's all of us. Always wanting to be famous, wanting to be loved, wanting to be liked, whatever it is.
Yep.
And the other kind of person is the person that thinks the audience should be honoured to have me. Well, we're not. I'm definitely not one of those. And we always be liked, loved, and whatever else. And then you get to later in life, I don't know, 30 albums in or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And I remember Iron Maiden going out. We're not doing our thing. We're going to do our new album only. And people say, "Well, fuck you. We're not coming then." What are you going to do now? And that's the reality of it. Why would you tell the people, "Oh, no, I can't do that"? And I've met and heard many people say, "I need to stretch my audience." You're pompous fuck. As I said, you want to be loved for so long. Or I would read reviews. Oh, yeah, Quo, whomever Stones, whoever it was, whoever it is. Yeah. They plundered their back catalogue. Well, whose catalogue did you think they were going to do then? we were going to do the Searchers catalogue or New Seekers. We thought we might do New Seekers tonight. What the fuck are you talking about? So we do go out and do Status Quo, and therefore we are going to do Caroline, Paper Plane, whatever you want, down, rocking all over the world, and so on and so on and so on and so on. And there are songs that work, and particularly in the form we're in this evening, this tour, this summer, you're in a non-partisan area. You get a lot of floating people. So it's lowest common denominator. And I don't mean that in a derogatory way. Yeah. It's you want most of the people in there to go, yes, I love this song.
I know this song, yeah.
Right. Not 300 of them down the front. We're the elite here. Now, I know you are. Now, the rest of the fucking 60,000 or whatever it is, people are sitting going, I don't know this one. I don't know this one. And you're losing your audience. That is not good for someone who's on stage to lose their audience. Whether you're a comedian, whether you're an actor, whether you're in a 12-bar fucking band like Status Quo, the people presume. So therefore, I'm going to do and take the stick for doing the same set pretty much. We changed things. We put new ones in occasionally, or we did. Rick was terrible at it. He was worse than me for that. Couldn't stand doing the new one because you could sense the, oh, and it's not good. Oh, there's an uncertainty. You can feel it. Oh, shit, let's get through these new ones. And that's the honest truth. So I really want it to be so good for people out there. Because when it's good for them out there, it's good for us. It's good for me. It feels so, so good. And I love it feeling so, so good. As many times as possible, please. Like when someone's playing for that little bit down there and they're just on that. You could do that for hours. Can you just play with that bit there for hours and hours? Thank you. Don't stop. Oh, you stopped. Oh, don't stop. I'll do it when I rub the dog's belly. She'll let me rub her belly forever. I knew a girl like that once. I still know a girl like that. Love my own jokes. Have you noticed? Sorry. I knew you need to go. You probably need a pee or something.
That's okay. Well, I just want to say thank you, Francis, for all of your time.
Thank you.
And the best place to send people to is francisrossi.com or statusquo.co.uk for all the latest news on your tours and merch and T-shirts and coffee mugs and whiskey, if there's any left.
Yeah. Yeah, you're good at this, aren't you?
Well, thank you. Thanks very much for your time. I've really enjoyed this. It's been fab.
You're more than welcome. I enjoyed it. It was nice for you to let me waffle. Good luck for trying that up.
Not at all. Well, good luck with the tour, and hopefully we'll catch up at the other end of it. That would be great.
That'd be nice. Ask them, and I don't mind talking to you again.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Take care now. Bye.
Bye. So a huge thank you to my guest, Francis Rossi. That was absolutely fantastic. I enjoyed that so much. Remember the album We Talk Too Much, which is out with Francis Rossi and also Hannah Rickard, out on vinyl for the first time. The album originally came out in 2019. It's really uplifting, joyous album. It's Americana. There's some country stuff in there. But as I said and identified when listening to Quo, as I have listened to Quo for decades, is just how strong the melodies are, and the fact that Francis writes all his music on acoustic guitar means really the songs can go in any direction. It's only whatever the arrangement is and whatever the instrumentation is almost decides what kind of music that is. And I think what he says is that, Quo fans or rock fans were I think we all were quite narrow-minded, or we saw what we liked as almost like a little silo. We only like this, we don't like that. But as we've gone through life, as I've said many times on Now Spinning Magazine, I don't really know what I don't like anymore. I listen to jazz, funk, soul, rock, classical, country, anything. And it's a wonderful album. And Francis Rossi is so busy, and Quo are so busy. 2024 sees them extensive UK and European tour, which takes them literally all around Europe, Germany, Denmark, Switzerland, etc., Sweden. And then, of course, the Chat and Tunes tour towards the end of the year. What a fantastic storyteller Francis Rossi is. Absolutely brilliant. Now, if you want to know more, go to francisrossi.com. All the merch is there. And of course, Status Quo, statusquo.co.uk. And at the time of me doing this interview, it is the 50th anniversary of the album Quo. And you can get tour T-shirts dating back to 1974. So thank you very much for listening. Thank you very much for supporting me, for subscribing, for subscribing to the YouTube channel. Visit nowspinning.co.uk. If you're on social media, wherever you are, that's where we are. Subscribe to the podcast. Take care. Remember, music is the healer and the doctor. Keep spinning those discs, and I shall see you all very, very soon.